News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a joy good morning to you. This is Newsline, live, almost always, from the Newsfirst studios in Dayasri in Colombo. And this morning, as I drove into work, it was absolutely marvelous day. You can sense that it's going to be a super beautiful day. And we, of course, live on this lovely, beautiful island. And this morning, we've got, after some absence, Mr. Gomin Dayasri. Very good morning to you, Mr. Gomin.
Good morning, good morning.
Several legal questions await your expert opinion.
My opinion?
Yes.
Not so
Let's take the short one first, shall we? Now, the headline in the Daily Mirror this morning says, CID tells court CDS will be arrested. Fine. Then the article written by Faraz says, Colombo Fort Magistrate Lanka told the CID to take steps to arrest the former Navy commander if the CID had adequate evidence to prove he had helped break the law. Right. Now then, what does this mean? Does it mean that the CID will only act if they're told to? Is that what it means?
No, it means something much more and something much more dangerous, I would say.
Where is the proactiveness?
No, what I fear is that CID, for a judge, is quite right. This is the material that has been placed before him for arrest. But then the question is there people being arrested without evidence? For a judge to say that, that's an indictment on the CID. Because CID should be arresting people only where there is evidence, unless, of course, there is an exception because the officer concerned is so high-ranked that they may feel that they need substantial evidence. But evidence is enough, and that is exactly what the judge told the CID, which means that the judge has certain trepidation in his mind whether arrests are being made without sufficient evidence, and that's what the opposition has been yelling about.
Now, Mr. Gomin, I detected a word there where you said if it was a high-ranking officer, you need substantial evidence. I'm sorry, but in my little mind, I don't think that any two people are different. No. Therefore, why would you want more substantial evidence against one and not the other?
No, what I said was that is that what the learned judge mentioned, because he didn't say that, he was very careful, he said evidence.
Yes.
So that it's evidence, and there must be uniformity with regard to all people. There must be some evidence placed, and that is why he's stressing on that. Emphasis is on the word some evidence must be placed. You must have evidence to take before people before they are arrested. Otherwise, poor people will be just paraded in court and sent home, which is neither good for the government and very bad for whoever is the victim.
Right. Well, that's true, but it's obvious, isn't it? If you don't have the evidence, you don't go around making accusations.
But then why did the judge say that to the CID? Because that is the basic. I mean, you can't take anybody without evidence. For the judge to say that there's something looming in the background, people, his suspects, are being brought.
Is also telling of the culture that we now live in.
Yes, Faraz, and also something more. It's a one-up for the judiciary, because judiciary can express views freely, and we can have confidence in a judiciary which assumes that there must be evidence before a person can be taken into to questioning.
I keep constantly being sent messages. As you know, viewers are able to send us messages onto the program directly, 0772 300 305. Send us an SMS. Please don't send WhatsApp, because it's a bit of a task to keep switching between one and the other. But you can send your question straight in, and it's live here. And I keep getting asked the same question time and time again, Mr. Gomin Dayasri, and I thought I'll ask you this. To give us a legal answer to this thing. People constantly ask this question, and that is, can the people take legal action in some way or form against legislators who are not delivering? Is that a too wide a question, or but that's the essence? They say if they're not delivering, Why can't we take them to court? Can we take them to court?
I doubt whether you can take them to court, because there's a other way out, that is to throw them out of parliament when
Yes,
the
but
5
we have
years
to
comes.
wait 4 or 5 years for that. It's a bit tiresome.
Now, I can quite understand your concern
It's
about
tiresome, it's
tiresome,
frustrating.
It's weary, but the thing is that we find that the worst of the politicians are re-elected all the time, and it's likely to happen again. Now that I saw in today's papers that there is a possibility of the Sirisena joining Rajapaksa, which means it's a blessing in disguise for the 15 guys who's travelled all over the place and is now a separate group, because some of the worst are those who enjoy benefits all the time under every direct government, and that is the gang of 15 that is there now in parliament, and their spokesman, SPD Sanaka, is supposed to be coordinating this merger. Now, if that merger happens, what will happen is new people coming into parliament is very unlikely, because what will happen is the old-timers will get another lease of life, and that is what is called a live show, another chance of showing themselves.
But again, another matter here. If you noticed in the last few days on the news, and a bit beyond that, before that, if you noticed, that chap, Minister, Lakshman Kiriyala, oh, he was ever so vociferous about this, that and the other. When he's in Parliament, he's like a tiger, right? And yet the other day, when journalists met him outside, not within the sanctity and the privilege of Parliament, he was asked various questions. He was silent. Silent as a little lamb. Is this the kind of legislators we want?
No, we don't want the guys of a lot of Snow Whites in parliament, but we want doers. But the thing is that nobody is doing anything at all.
No, they are doing. They are doing. They're doing for themselves.
Yeah, they're helping themselves. That's true. But except for that, what else? Or they are helping their families, they are helping their relatives, they are helping their friends. But outside that, what is really happening is nothing is happening, and you can't do anything because the Constitution says no elections for 4.5 years.
Well, this is you're now coming nicely. You've come in nicely to the main question, which I wanted your opinion on, your legal opinion on, and that is this. It is part of that frustration I spoke earlier, and that is that the people are wondering whether they can't go to court because these people are not delivering. And then you said, you're not telling me that we can't have an election for 4.5 years. And that's the problem. Why should the people be deprived of the ability to chuck them out almost immediately? And that was available before this 19th Amendment, because the President had the choice.
Precisely, Faraz, and that is why no one was challenged in the 19th. I'm the petitioner for the 19th. I'm the counsel for the petitioner. I'm one and two. I did a two-in-one job, and I took up the position that 4.5 is you are disenfranchising the people. What did the Supreme Court do? What did those great Siripavan do? Now sitting very cosily in the commercial bank. He didn't give a yes or no answer. He avoided that question. I argued for 2.5 years. That's the main plank. And what happened?
Why do you think he ignored that question?
Because the answer was obvious. I mean, where in which country have you had the election where a party can have a vote of no confidence, overthrow a government, the parliamentarians themselves, and then having to sit with them unless you have a 2/3 majority? So that is the sad situation we are now in, and that is the whole cause for this problem. And now we find that great man Siripavan, he is now a director of the commercial bank in addition to the huge salary. I think he gets about 400,000 rupees as pension, which is tax-free. In addition to that, he gets government gives him.
I don't want to do this, but I must say to you that I trust that you are saying this with full responsibility to now the thing is this.
That's the truth.
The thing is this. I'm sure that there's nothing legally wrong in what Mr. Sripavan has done
by
going and sitting on the board of a bank. However, the question arises in the minds of the public, and therefore I believe that this, what I'm saying, is fair comment, and that is that the public will be left wondering whether this was part of a wider transaction.
I don't think it's a wider transaction. It's a consequence of a transaction that took place, because I feel that when a judge is given his full pension, and pensions are very enormous now, and unlike in the old days they used to get a paltry sum, because some judge told me that he's not a Supreme Court judge, but he's a Supreme Court judge, but he's not the Chief Justice. He gets 400,000 nearly. So I'm sure the Chief Justice gets much more. But the fact is, they are given that Faraz because they are not expected to do anything else. They can't take another job after they retire, and that is completely been swept away when they
Where does it say that you can't do that?
Oh, that's convention. There are a lot of things in our country that is dependent on convention. Why is the pension given to everybody as their pension?
So is it a matter that someone can go to court on?
No, I don't think even there you can go to court, because...
So what's the point then?
That
we'll have to just curl up and die in frustration.
That is often so when it comes to the judiciary. When you're dissatisfied, you've got to take a beating and wait. But I think as far as politicians are concerned, if they are corrupt, you can certainly take action. But if they are merely useless, because so many are, I don't think you can take the parliamentarians for court for doing nothing but helping themselves. Unless, of course, because there's a remedy. The remedy is throw them out of parliament. That never happened.
Yes, that remedy is delayed by 4.5 years.
Yes, but it's delayed, I think, now by 30, 40 years when it comes to those 15 parliamentarians who have been swinging sides and calling themselves a group, but they are now at their next trick is to get Mahinda Rajapaksa.
But why can't, instead of them shouting, why don't they can't officially say they're from another party, because if they do that, they'll have to give up their present positions as members of parliament. They have to resign from that party, and then they'll have to come back all over again.
Yes, if
they can't have the cake and eat it.
No, but
that's what they're doing.
But they had the cake and they ate it because...
And they're still trying to eat it.
Because if you remember, there were now several judgments that permitted people to cross over parties on the basis of their independence, their conscience vote. That kind of situations were thought of, but the Constitution is very clear, and the supreme document that we have is the Constitution, and Constitution makes it very clear you can't get out of parties and join another, and that is what happened to Rajadore, that's what happened to Neville Fernando in the original stage when the Constitution was brand new. They kept to it, but thereafter everybody has been fouling it, and the Supreme Court has assisted in that foul act. I say that without any consequence. I face all consequences. I take it and I say it.
Now then, thank you, Mr. Gomin Dayasri. Now then, there is this other question, and that is, it's to do with 2 and 3, 2 terms or 3 and beyond. Well, now, can you kindly put us all out of our collective misery and give us a fit and proper legal answer? It may not be acceptable to everybody, but then good medicine is usually bitter, they say. I'll try to give you the bitter pill, but the point is I can't give any sugar coating to it, but let me try to my best to be totally objective without being partial. Now, the allegation is Mr. Rajapaksa has had 2 terms, can he have the 3rd? Now that was, if you look at the Constitution, our Constitution originated in 1978, and it stood with the same position of 2-term presidency for Mahinda Rajapaksa in his first term. In his second term and third term, he asked for an extension where it was stated, which I don't have any problems with. If the people endorse, a person can become a president for the 3rd time. That was there for a short time with the 18th Amendment, done away with the 19th Amendment. Now, what the Nihal Jayavikrama, I think his presence is the best argument for the opposition. He says, takes up the position that
that a new office has come into existence, therefore retrospectivity is very important. As you know, all laws are prospective. Retrospectivity can come in only if there's a clause given retrospectivity, and he says that is the great idea here before. And you must remember, Nihal Jayavikrama is the brother-in-law of G.L. Piris, and G.L. Piris puts forward the thing to Mahinda Rajapaksa, and Mahinda Rajapaksa, without thinking, bites it. Now I think this is a great problem, unnecessary problem has been created for Mahinda Rajapaksa by this very sleek operation carried out by Mr. Nihal Jayavikrama, who has set out. I would say Nihal is a very honourable guy, presently, not previously, but at the moment he put his idea, which is quite entitled to. But it was G.L. Piris who propelled it to Mahinda Rajapaksa, I believe, as that's what the newspapers say. Anyway, that is by the side. But now the question is, if a person knew when he contested the first time, when he contested the second time, and when he contested the third time, he made provision to get it endorsed to be not even Mahinda Rajapaksa, which he thought he would, his popularity was so great, can have a third term, because third term makes a person so unpopular. But it does not matter. In a country where there are dearth of people, a third term is possible if it is consented. So the government made a big mistake by bringing it down to 2 terms, but still there's another point. When the 19th Amendment came into existence, there was a duty on the part of Mahinda Rajapaksa or Nihal Jayavikrama or G.L. Piris or any of their little sycophants around to have contested that matter in court, because the bill had to be approved. That was never contested. I am the petitioner.
Why were they in a slumber then?
I mean, it never, you see, this is not Mahinda Rajapaksa's problem. It's Nihal Jayavikrama sold this idea, and that has now propelled into something that is useful for Mahinda, because it gives the Mahinda a bad impression. Somebody can accuse him that every office that there is in this country, he is trying to get it. I mean, he had 2 terms as president, then he tried third term, he didn't fail, then he tried for prime minister, then he contested general election, wanted to be prime minister, he lost that. Next time he's going to be prime minister, he's hopeful, and I think he will be, because the government is so unpopular that people have no alternative. He doesn't give alternatives, nobody gives alternatives, that's the trouble. That's why I say 4.5 years makes it worse, because we are stuck with a government, and Sirisena and Mahinda Rajapaksa now want to if they get together, I think things will be even worse. Not that I am a supporter of the government, I will never vote for this government should go, but we should have new people, younger generation, because the older generation has now lived with this from 1970, look at it, from 1977.
Why can't Mahinda Rajapaksa, with all his popularity and so on, why can't he go away whilst he's on top?
In fact, I told him 2 days after general election, I met him at Chamal Rajapaksa's house upstairs, and I told him, sir, isn't it time, not sir, I said, Mr. President, isn't it time you should retire gracefully and become the elder statesman? I don't think he took that advice seriously. But now, this will create great problems, because this will not be popular with the Gotabaya Rajapaksa wing of the SLP who are trying to be president. And Gotabaya is now playing the role of a little lamb to Mahinda Rajapaksa, saying, I heard him yesterday saying on television that Mahinda Rajapaksa is the most popular man, and which is probably correct.
But the Rajapaksas don't appear, at least in contemporary times, to have acted without unity. They always seem to be united.
Yes, they are so united, but you see, the unity is not a good thing if you have to hold.
What I'm trying to say is that isn't it all hinging on the one person?
I would say now it has been slightly deflated person, the Mahinda Rajapaksa is, because today it has to be shared. There's Gotabaya Rajapaksa very much in the picture, and he is emerging as the prime candidate. At least you get a new face, but I don't think Gotabaya is the right choice, because he's picked up all Mahinda's old cronies in his think tank. The other day he told me he has 60 guys in the think tank. One day he told me, and then
but he has quite a number of undesirables as well.
Undesirables?
So
No, it's not up to him. It's the people must cleanse this. I mean, somebody must take an initiative and get across to people and tell them. Well, I don't know who's doing that, but I'm not in any political party. I was in only one, and that's the SLFP in the old days of Mrs. Bandaranaike. Now I left it, so I don't know what really is happening there, but I can tell you one thing. The Mahinda Rajapaksa Sirisena combination means Sirisena will want another term as president, because he will insist on the presidency being there. And remember, he went to court on that. Even there, Mahinda Rajapaksa didn't serve us.
But they said 5 years.
They said 5 years. That's a term. But this is, it didn't go into the question of he should have said 5 years. But
you see, when the effect of that is that they've accepted the provisions of the 19th Amendment.
It means they accept the provisions, and then suddenly you can't wake up like
But isn't there a case? Isn't that? Can I just play devil's advocate for a few seconds? Professor J.L. Piris maintains that the 19th Amendment envisages no second term or more than 2 terms for any one person from the time the 19th Amendment comes into place, which means that the first of these presidents to get affected by such a move would be the incumbent president. Is that the correct position? Why is it wrong if it's not the correct position?
Well, you must remember that Mahinda Rajapaksa contested as the president of this country for a 3rd term, accepting the 18th Amendment, and he was thrown out, and then came the 19th Amendment, which he did not oppose at all. So they can take up the question of why didn't you take it at the proper time, because I took up the point that you can't go on for 4.5 years uninterrupted. And Manohara De Silva, several lawyers for both sides took up different positions thereafter. So I don't think Mahinda Rajapaksa, who took no position, can now emerge and take up the position.
But GL says that the word retrospect is not there in the 19th.
Yes, but constitutions don't need retrospectivity. When it from 1972 it was there, and Mahinda Rajapaksa was a person who knew. Did not give a judgment on whether he gave a judgment, but he didn't answer that question on the 4.5 years, not a word on the 4.5 year term. He did. That is my complaint. I mean, if any objection that is taken against me should be considered, and it can be rejected. I'll be very happy, because many of my arguments in court have been rejected, and then they have to give reasons. Now the trouble is they can't give reasons in that way, so they avoided it. Now why I am complaining is avoidance, not that they gave any judgment whatsoever. And I'm prepared to go to jail even on this matter. I'm sure if I go to jail, I'll stay in jail, not go to hospital like the elitist. I'll stay there and die there. But I would rather go there rather than not bring this forth out in public.
Now then,
and as far GLP is correct, you can go to court, and everybody has the right to go to court. He can go to court, he can go to a district court, but district court, unless he is very sure of the judge, if they dismiss it outright, or if they say something else, there are many issues that can be raised even in the district court.
Message from the people, question from a viewer: shouldn't the JO have voted for the delimitation bill in Parliament along with the SLFP? This would have placed the UNP-SLFP alliance in jeopardy. Did MR save the UNP Ranil or the UNP and or Ranil again?
I don't know, but I certainly think it's very curious. To me, Faiza Mustafa's statement is unacceptable. Here he spends so much of money, waste time of people, courts, everybody, and finally
But isn't that what lawyers tend to do,
no,
with all due respect?
No. Lawyers do that kind of thing all the time, but they are not lawyers, they are legislators, and they spend so much money, wasted so much, and then for him to say that this is not his committee report and go on that basis. I mean, I think I quite agree with the listener, because really this Mahinda Rajapaksa's term of office, how many times he has avoided court. I mean, when there was this last incident, he went off to Singapore without facing and giving necessary answers. If I were he, if I had a clean conscience, if I had strength, I would have gone to Parliament and told my version of the story. He ran away. He runs away when he...
Do you get the feeling these people are all treating this blessed Parliament as some kind of a joke?
No, I don't think it's a joke. It's a very serious matter, because nothing in Parliament can be
But
considered...
they're not being serious. Where is the commitment to change?
No, but the commitment is that they just want to help each other. If you remember the allegations that when Mahinda Rajapaksa ran his 2-term presidency...
Another question.
Yes.
Does MR actually want to win, or simply to survive, to save politics for his next of kin?
Very interesting. I would agree with both points of view. He wants to win, and he will win because of the unpopularity of the present government. He will lose. He will not get. He does not want Gotabaya to emerge.
What about the people of the former conflict areas? I keep going on about this. What about the people of the former conflict areas? War ended 2009. They're still waiting for some form of housing. Plastic, steel, bricks and mortar, mud even. Mr. Swaminathan hasn't delivered. His successor hasn't delivered. From Indian, Japanese, Chinese, God knows what, Spanish, French, it's now gone all the way to China, and even that has now stumbled.
But
what's going on? Why is the TNA being so stuck in the mud about this?
I think TNA made a big mistake in bringing Vignesaram to the forefront. I mean, I remember those days the CID used to tell me that best person judge to get a conviction is Mr. Vignesaram against the LTT. I think Mr. Vignesaram plays all the sides all the time, and I don't know whether he knows where he is. Presently, I don't know where he is. I think that you can see it in the mind of the TULF. They are not going to take him on. TNA will drop him. So I think the North has its own problems, but I think still the Sinhalese must lend a helping hand, because they can't emerge. But I think the North are asking for too much. They should make their justifiable demands, and they should stick as one country, one people, because after the war you can't have two countries whatsoever. No one is going to tolerate it. And I could say very confidently that if the North, and I believe it's not our generation, for us, it's the next generation, and they are doing what is necessary.
So is that what MR is doing? The viewers are complaining and saying that that I cut you off. So
MR is doing nothing.
Is MR saving politics, trying to survive, to save politics for his next of kin?
Yes.
Can we have a clear answer on that? What do you think?
I think he wants the next generation, the next Rajapaksas to emerge, and for that I think he finds Gotabaya a stumbling block, because Gotabaya might be the only candidate who might get a second term in his time, which means Rajapaksas will be out of count.
Well, I just want to remind everyone that Newsline is currently live on TV1 and on Facebook, and also on the internet. You can go on www.tv1.lk, press the live button, you can see us live.
Can I say one word?
Yes.
Please? I find that this program is so popular that a lot of people tell me that it's only the elderly who can listen to it at this time.
We must leave you with yet another question. What is the moral right of this government to still continue to attempt to rule us, to govern us, when they've done absolutely nothing about various matters? This network spends a lot of time, energy and passion on unearthing departures from procedure. That's the word. Departures from due process. Tender guidelines, everything has been chucked in the wind. The Central Expressway is carrying on, regardless. Sri Lankan Airlines, they're starting from back to front, when they know jolly well that the bulk of the big ticket corruption happened now, not to say that it didn't happen before, but what I'm trying to say is that the big ticket items happened under this government of good governance. And of course, I have to go back to the biggest scandal of all, the bond scam. Where is it? Governor Kumaraswamy, you say that you've initiated. Where is the announcement, Governor? Please put it out. Don't hide behind anything. Put it out and say, on such and such a date, we appointed so-and-so, and the forensic audit is going on. Why, Mr. Gomin, is there a comprehensive non-commitment to get on and resolve things? Why?
Yes, the government is relying on two things. They were elected, no doubt, but they were elected on a manifesto. That manifesto has not been worked, and people have no right. They have lost all opportunity for 4.5 years of the elections. So that is where the problem is, and the government is now trying in their last desperate attempt to have a whole lot of exhibitions, road shows about their progress, what they did in office.
Wouldn't that road show be better if they said what they didn't do?
I'm sure that there will be the counter show on road of what they haven't done, because I think that is what Mahinda Rajapaksa and his team should do, rather than just protesting and wasting time on the 5th of August, September. I think they should put a counter show, and that is the most effective election propaganda for both parties. That I would say. But may I say this, I'll never vote for this present government. I never voted for it. But I must say that this government has done few things that are worthwhile, but more things have been unheard, what they said would be done. So that is where we stand, and I would say that next government, if it's Mahinda Rajapaksa and his boys, will have the same treatment as before.
I think we'll end by thanking you. Thank you very much, Mr. Gomin Dayasri, and to the viewer who says there should never be a third term for presidency. Like Mr. Gomin said, they should step down gracefully. On that note, thank you very much for being with Newsline. Take care and God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.